On an unremarkable day more than 30 years earlier, Frances Brown lay in a Chester hospital with her legs in stirrups as the doctors continued to prod about down there. She was in shock. The birth itself had been fast and animal-like, not at all typical of a firstborn from the little she knew. She hadn't really known what to expect. They didn't tell you much in those days. But the one thing she most definitely had not been prepared for, after the head had crowned and the slippery red creature had flopped onto the bed beneath her, was that the doctors would tell her to deliver another. Frances had known something was up, when the mood in the delivery room had changed in an instant, and all the doctors had come at once and huddled around her bed, conferring anxiously. She had thought something must be wrong with her baby girl, but if so, why were they poking around her instead of looking after the child? Finally, the doctor looked up, and she was bemused to see that he was smiling. "The job's not over yet, Mrs. Brown," he said. "We found another baby that we need to get out now." "I beg your pardon," she'd said. The doctor tried again. "Congratulations, Mrs. Brown. You're soon to be the mother of twins. You have a second baby to deliver." "What do you mean?" she'd screamed. "I've had my bloody baby." Now she lay there in shock, and all she could think was that she didn't want two babies. She only wanted one. She only had one crib, one pram, one set of baby clothes, one life prepared. Frances was a planner by nature. She didn't like surprises. Certainly not ones this momentous, and apart from anything else she felt far too exhausted to give birth again. The first birth may have been quick, but it had been fierce and traumatic and nearly 3 weeks ahead of schedule. She shut her eyes and wondered when Andrew would arrive. She hadn't been able to get him at his office. He'd been out at a meeting, apparently, and once the contractions had quickened to every minute and a half, she'd known her only option was to call an ambulance. So her first baby had arrived in a gush of red and a gash of loneliness, and now she was being told to deliver a second, and still her husband was absent. Andrew hadn't seemed too keen on having even one baby, so God knows what he'd think of this development. She started sobbing, noisy, snot-filled gulps that rang through the little hospital. "Mrs. Brown, will you control yourself?" the midwife said. Frances loathed her, with her mean features and squeaky, grating voice. What was she even doing in this job, she thought bitterly. She'd suck the joy out of any situation, even the beauty of birth, like a malevolent pair of bellows. "Can I see my baby?" Frances said. "I haven't seen her yet." "She's being checked. Just concentrate on this one." "I don't want to concentrate on this one. I want my real baby. Give me my real baby." She was screeching now. The midwife got the gas and air and held it over Frances's face, pressing hard. Frances gagged and finally stopped screaming, and as she quieted, the fight went out of her, and something in her died, there on that hospital bed. Andrew turned up just seconds too late to see his second twin daughter enter the world. He seemed flustered and awkward, especially when his hopes of a son were rewarded with not one but 2 baby girls. One was pink and pretty and perfectly formed. The other lay blue and grotesque on the filthy sheets, the umbilical cord stopping the air from entering her lungs and starting her life outside the womb. The atmosphere he arrived into was intense, critical. The doctor deftly unwrapped the cord from the baby's neck and cut it, and Andrew watched the blood swarm through her little body as the doctor took her across to the resuscitation unit, and one of the nurses held up a vacuum tube and sucked the shit and scum from her airways. It was just moments before they heard the anguished, angry howls. She was exactly 1 hour younger than her sister, and she looked and sounded like she'd come from a different planet. "My poor darling, I'm so sorry," Andrew whispered to his pale, bedraggled wife as he took her hand, red with new life. Frances looked at him hard, in his dirty Harry suit and loosened tie. "What are you sorry for? That you weren't here, or that I've had twin girls?" He couldn't quite look at her.